This right here is Nate Burleson's top 5 most valuable wide receivers to their team. First up, at number 5, we'll work our way down. Terrelle Pryor with the Redskins.
Ooh.
And
You got
I know
me already.
everybody's sitting at home. I got you already.
All right.
Now, here's the thing. Now, for everybody at home, I want you to know how I create my list. I put a lot of thought behind it. I actually study these wide receivers because I am a wide receiver. But I try to go one not so traditional pick, not something out of the blue. I don't go with a dark horse that I'm pulling out of nowhere, but a guy that I have a lot of faith in that isn't as proven as most receivers in this league. Now, Terrelle Pryor. He had 1,000 yards with a crazy rotation of quarterbacks last season, and he did it his first year at the wide receiver position. Now, moving in with the Washington Redskins, with Kirk Cousins, who, as we know, can light up the sky. He is going to be Kirk Cousins' tallest target, and if he can continue to trend upward like he has been in his career, this could be a huge year, and he can do what he did last year, but better. You know, we talk about teams and quarterbacks having shiny new toys. This isn't a Hot Wheel. This is a Tonka truck for Kirk Cousins. So this is the reason why I put him at top 5. He's going to do big things for this offense.
A couple of technical things that you may appreciate on Terrelle Pryor. I was down there for an OTA, and there was one play where Kirk Cousins, play action, looks up, and I could see he wanted to get that ball out quickly. And I asked Jay Gruden about it after practice. It was a deep ball past Bashaud Breeland. And he said, yeah, we've actually been underthrowing Pryor because he's a long strider, so he doesn't look like he's moving. The eye test, he doesn't look like he's moving as fast as some of the other guys. So they wanted to work on that, and they've been developing that chemistry. And you could see Cousins said, all right, let me throw this early. Let me put it out there. Let me see if he can get back under it. And he did. So look for those guys to work on that. And the other thing is, last year, I was covering a Giants-Browns game. DRC, I believe it was DRC, told me, it's not just that he's like sitting in zones making catches. They're throwing the ball up and saying, hey, go make a play.
Go get it.
That's the most impressive part.
That
a lot of these guys.
50-50 ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's next?
What are you thinking about?
Well, listen, I've said it 100 times on the show. There's no player I'm looking forward to seeing this season more than Terrelle Pryor.
Yeah.
He's the greatest high school athlete I've ever seen in Pennsylvania, Ohio State, everything. There's nothing he can't do. Number 5 is rich.
Yeah.
It's really rich.
It is.
But
it really is.
Listen, I think Buccaneers fans should be fired up because if Pryor's number 5, that means Evans made the top 4.
Exactly.
So that's your guy.
He's got to be on this list, so stay tuned.
I like that.
Let's go to number 4, Julian Edelman. You guys know how I feel about Julian Edelman. I call him the slot machine. And, you know, there's plenty of guys that I could have picked. Last year, I did a list of most valuable pass catchers, and Gronk made my top 5. The season that they had winning the Super Bowl without Gronk, that dispelled that. So then it got me to rethinking about the Patriots offense. And I said to myself, well, I can't pick Gronk because he's going to go down as the best tight end ever.
You want a Super Bowl without him.
I'm going to pick Julian because not only does he have great regular seasons and is durable, but when he shows up in the playoffs, he could be the most clutch playoff wide receiver I've ever seen. And I'm talking about ever. He constantly makes the big play at the right time, and obviously that catching the Super Bowl is one reason. We always talk about the carpet that brings the room together. Julian Edelman is that for the offense. He's the blanket, the security blanket for Tom Brady, and has been for a long time.
Let me challenge it, Nate.
Yeah.
Because we see all the different pieces that the Patriots have. If Edelman just suddenly disappeared, could Hogan, could Amendola, who's also been very clutch in the playoffs, not step in and suffice? We lost Gronk and won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
If he's that valuable, how could he be at number 4 if they could win a Super Bowl potentially without him? I mean, I feel like someone could replace him.
Then if he has so many weapons, why does he always have laser eyes for one guy and one guy over?
He does. That's his guy.
Number 11.
That's exactly it, okay?
It's chemistry and trust, it looks like.
Could one guy suffice? Could a group of players do it collectively? The answer is yes. But can they duplicate the type of chemistry that he has with Tom Brady? Absolutely not.
How much does trust play into that as well?
Plays a huge role. I mean, if you're a friend with a guy and you know exactly what your quarterback is thinking and vice versa, he's always going to look at you. Even if Julian is a second option, he goes to Gronk, goes to Julian. Breakdown, running back's not there. Who am I going to go back to? You might not go back to Gronk because he's bracketed and the safety's over the top, daring you to throw it. You might go to Julian because Julian knows exactly where to uncover. It's a big quality to have, and that's why he's number 4 on this list. Moving on, Odell Beckham, number 3 on this list. And Odell is on this list because, as we know, his first 3 seasons, he's done what Randy Moss has done, putting up crazy yards, 1,000 yards, averaging 10 touchdowns a season. Now, there's questions about his dedication when it comes to making the decision to go to Miami before the playoff game. And I can't argue with that. For anybody to say, well, he's not a playoff guy. Well, we haven't seen it yet, so I can't argue with that either. But what I can say in the regular season and what he's going to bring to the table for this squad, and that includes making Brandon Marshall a better receiver at his veteran age, Sterling Shepard being a quality young wide receiver, and then doing all this without a running game that is proven Eli's most consistent target. I'm going with Odell at 3.
Is he one of the more unique guys that you've seen in recent memory? Because he's not the biggest guy. He's not the fastest guy. He's got speed, but he's not the fastest guy. But he's just kind of able to create separation, even win some jump balls. Is unique a word you would use?
Unique is a very good word to use. And then when you look at that wide receiver crowd, I bet you people at home don't realize that he was shorter than Victor Cruz. So when Victor Cruz is on that roster, Victor Cruz stands at 6'1". Odell, 6 foot. Sterling Shepard, 5'11". So they had all these short receivers because of the way he plays and runs. You think Odell is 6'4", but he's not. He just plays so much bigger than he actually is. So he's at number 3. Number 2, what can Brown do for you? Antonio Brown can do everything. So he is my next guy on the list.
Antonio Brown is not number 1.
I know, but, you know, the number 1, I think you guys won't argue with me. But Antonio is unbelievable. I don't know how much I can compliment him in ways that I haven't before. Another guy who's not the tallest, not the fastest, and he's not going to out-jump a ton of guys.
But he's my favorite.
But Antonio has the most separation. When I mean separation, I mean getting open. Like when you see highlights and you're surprised. Like this right here, when he's getting open by 3 yards, that's what he averages, just under 3 yards of separation. And that's what the game is. Plain and simple, wide receivers run routes to get separation. So for me, having a guy that can do that consistently when you have a corner on you, a safety peeking at you, if you play him one-on-one, you're dead. If you're playing 2 guys, one underneath, one over the top, most likely he's going to beat both of those. Your best chance is putting 3 guys on him, and he might still get the ball. That's how good of a route runner he is. And with Big Ben aging, Le'Veon Bell being the anchor in the running game, Antonio is the guy that is going to bring this whole wide receiver core together and has been for a long time.
100 or more catches in 4 straight years. That
Unbelievable.
Value.
His numbers are stupid. There's only one guy in the world who can say something about Antonio, and I think it may be a guy who plays in Atlanta.
Exactly. And I'm glad you said that. The next guy, Julio Jones, at number 1. The big dog. He is the guy that I feel like when Calvin Johnson retired, there's a big man torch that you pass, right? There's the little receivers. There's the guys that are right around 5'10", 5'11". There's the Odells, and then there's Antonio Browns. But then there's the big guys where Calvin Johnson said, you know what? Here's the torch. I'm at 6'5", you're 6'3", 6'4", and I'm going to give this to you. You go ahead and take this and move it forward. He's fast, he's strong, he can condense his side, move into the slot. He can run physically and then release and get the ball. He can run routes if you're playing off of him. He can elevate off the ground, jump up, and go high point the ball. It's all these different things that traditionally big wide receivers haven't done in years past. And we look at Matt Ryan, the MVP season he had, and then you look at the record that they broke. 13 different guys receiving touchdowns in last year's season. And I would contribute a lot of that to Julio Jones, because when Julio Jones lines up, these D coordinators, they have to make a decision. Got to pay attention to Julio.